Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Dr. Jeff C. May, and welcome to another episode of Doctor's Orders, advice you should actually take. And in studio today, I'm super pumped because I've got an individual who I've known her and her family for a long time. In fact, I could probably pull out an old K-Check picture of the radio interview years and years ago. But I've got Jennifer Jensen with Sutton Ridge Farms, and I'm super excited to. Why I wanted her on is because she represents a core base of knowledge, vision, principle, and values that I truly believe that if more and more Americans had them at the foundation of their knowledge and their learning, that we wouldn't be as sick as we are. We wouldn't have many of the issues that we do, and understanding that. So we're going to get in. This may be part one. We'll see where it goes. But Jennifer, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to get that a little bit closer. There we go. Yeah, we kind of got to act like we're really cool to the microphones and all of that. But so Jennifer, let's go down memory lane in terms of Sutton Ridge Farms. Sure. Where did that all start? What is it? If someone's like, I don't know what Sutton Ridge Farms.
Sure. Well, the name comes, it's a geographical marker, I guess. We're by Sutton Lake out in rural Jordan. We have an 80-acre organic farm. Moved out here in 2007. We have 4 kids, and my husband is Mark, so he and I run the farm.
Shout out to Mark, he's awesome.
Yep.
Big fan of Mark.
And youngest one, we're toting off to college here in a few weeks, so it's been a long ride here. Wow, we've known each other a long time. Yeah. So basically wanted to move out to the country to be able to raise our own food. My mom is a farm girl from northern Minnesota, so that's where it got in my bones, I guess. And I just grew up with a lot of this, what I would call common sense or common knowledge, but as I got older, was finding that it wasn't the case. So anyway, moved out there, got the place all fixed up. We weren't really intending on having a business. Wanted to raise our own food, teach the kids how to work hard, be outside, and learn skills was kind of the main thing. But then started to realize that as we would talk to people, so many people didn't know things about farms. So like when I grew up, I still had friends that everyone had some person in their family that was a farmer,
sure,
kind of thing. And I just learned so much from the farm. So anyway, as we acquired different animals and such, sort of our first segue into education, I guess, was with a sheep shearing event. Or we had the sheep shorn every year, and I was like, this might be kind of a fun event so people can see how it goes from the sheep to a sweater. Anyway, so as far as like selling the meat and wool products, we've been doing that solidly for 10 years. I mean, we've been out there since 2007, but it took a number of years to kind of get things up and running, figure out what we were doing once we decided,
sure,
I think we want to go public.
Yeah.
So.
That's amazing. I'll tell you what, growing up in Nebraska, that was one of those things too, where it's like, hey, we grew up on the farm, the ranch, and it's like you just learn those things. So you're like, what do you mean people don't know where their food comes from? Because I know one of your passions is food, right? And real food. When I say food, and maybe Jennifer will allude to this, is that the stuff that most people are eating, let's get into this. Would you consider that real food, like the typical average American? And I'm going to go, say I paid attention in my 3rd grade class, maybe my 4th grade class a little bit in school. There was this thing shaped like a triangle, but it was a 3D thing, so they called it a pyramid. And it had these like big blocks at the bottom. I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to eat a lot of bread. Like, is your skin crawling?
Yeah. No, well, not only that, and we talked a little bit before we got on air here, but just the lack of real nutritional information in schools is gone. And people are learning this as they either get sick or they have to dig into it as adults and stuff. And the sad thing is that you only have one childhood. And so many things are developing in your childhood, your brain, your bones, your muscles, and you're kind of setting yourself up for life. And so it's very important for parents to take ownership of that in the parenting part and feeding their children with highly nutritional food. And unfortunately, you see a lot of Mountain Dew and Doritos.
Yeah, you mean that isn't genetic always? So that was one thing in my career. It's like, well, it's genetically in my family, or XYZ runs in my family. And what really, the only thing that runs in family for a far majority of people is habits. It is those things where the old adage, and you probably heard this, it's like, man, the story goes where it was this newlywed couple, and it was like the first Thanksgiving, and they're preparing, the Thanksgiving turkey or the Thanksgiving ham and whatnot, and this newlywed wife, she pulls it out, and all of a sudden, like, she chops off the ends of the ham, and then she bakes it, and he didn't really think anything of it. It's like, oh, it turned out well. The next year rolls around, and then she chops off the ends of the ham again, right? You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
And finally, like, after years and years of doing this, you're like, I gotta ask, why on earth are you chopping off the ends of the ham? And she'd be like, well, that's the way my mom did it, right? Or that's the way my grandma did it. And how many of those things do we have in the food industry that was like, hey, I drink sugar-free Mountain Dew. Right.
Well, wait a sec. I want to finish that story because do you know why the ends were cut off?
I was hoping you would catch the not finished. I've known Jen for so long. I knew Jennifer would nail this out of the park. Why was it that it surely made it taste better, right? That was part of it. But why did they cut off the ends of the ham?
Because Grandma's roasting pan wasn't big enough.
It was too small.
Exactly.
Yes. And that is exactly what happens with nutritional things. Because the original reason isn't necessarily because, oh my gosh, it's so much better. It's not that the ham tasted better. It's what they did with what they knew.
So we do go back to, it would be really great if the schools maybe focused more attention on that, or even, we understand school teachers are strapped, and they do so much. Accolades to school teachers. For sure. They just invest heart and soul and into their kids' lives and everything, and it's okay to bring in outside speakers, and I think that makes for a more well-rounded education.
Yeah.
And it's okay to bring in people that are well versed in the nutrition industry and wellness and
absolutely. And I think how much, like when you had mentioned where so many things that we deal with as adults started in childhood, for sure. It's those things that, sure, you go out and you have a Big Mac, you don't necessarily drop dead of a heart attack there. It's the how many other Big Macs, of course, the 40 years of your life, but we don't see that. We tend to be kind of live for the now, the whole YOLO, you only live once analogy, which is like, come on, like, technically you live every day, Lord willing, you only die once, so let's figure out how this living part works. Right?
Well, and I think too, food is really tied to emotional as well. I don't want to maybe go down this road too much, but I'm just thinking too, a very common scene could be, a young mom with one of her, 2-3-year-old or whatever, or the dad. I'm not just going to pick on moms. But if that child is maybe out of hand, acting up somewhere, whatever, you're at the grocery store, you're like, this is not a good time to act up, And a very easy thing to do would be, here's a lollipop, here's a phone, play games.
Yeah. Yep.
Here, but the food part of it, let me give this child something sweet, so that I can get done what I need to get done. But then that is teaching long-term habits. Now that sweet is tied to this emotional behavior, and it's just like you're saying, it's just a quick get it done, right now kind of thing. Anyway, that's sort of a little sidetrack, but those are the things that start instilling habits.
Yeah. And then you flash forward, and now they label it like stress eating.
Yes.
And doing those things. Well, where did that come from? Like, how should we handle stress? And there again, that could be a completely we're not taking you down. Sometimes I think when I even talk and it gets scatterbrained, or I feel like I'm on Chutes and Ladders, because it's like, instead of tangents, like the old school game, it's like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
But when you look at that, because I think it's so key, like, to where you hit on something, and we have a lot of young parents. And young parents, when I say young parents, your kids are still in an age where you have influence over them, and that's some of the things where I find myself and my wife and how do we do that? Is like, so if you're sitting there talking to young parents, Jennifer, and they're like, man, I just don't know like where would you start to guide that conversation in terms of like, and I know you do so many events out at the farm, and it's like, well, why don't you want to come see? Because the cool part with like you being local, it's like, oh man, like you don't have to own. What I'm saying is you don't have to own a farm. No one else has to buy sheep. We have Sutton Ridge Farm where you can go and you can learn these things. So how do you start that conversation?
Well, one thing I guess I've been really encouraged by in the last number of years, I guess, since the whole COVID thing and everything, eat local, because, when all those shelves were without meat, your local farmers we were able to pick up the slack on that. So that would be one thing. Get to know a farmer and connect with someone that you trust the way they raise the animals and such. But I've been encouraged to see young families coming in, and there have been more and more. And to me, that means they're getting it. They're reading something somewhere, that they need to feed their family well, start feeding their kids well. And if I were to say start with one thing, our diet, what we put in our mouth every single day, is what we fuel our bodies with. So that is a direct correlation to the way you feel. Are you feeling, brain fog? Are you feeling sluggish? The sugar, the processed foods. I mean, there's so many bad things out there. And really just eating real foods, it's so simple. I mean, our meals are so simple. It's a meat, a vegetable, starch, brown rice or potatoes I dug from the garden or something, It doesn't have to be complicated at all. And simple, I think, is just best. And my kids kind of chide me a little bit because they say, I grow a number of herbs and everything. And they're like, Mom, you never season anything. I do. They just don't see it. But I'm a salt and pepper gal,
Yeah.
And the salt matters too. I guess I'll put a plug here for Redmond salts. It keeps, it has all the minerals and stuff in it and everything. But it can be as simple as that. And it's simple is good, and it's nutritious. And the other thing too with real foods is that it fills you up. Your body can use all those minerals and nutrients that it just took in. And you're finding you're not eating as much because you're satisfied. Your body is satisfied.
It's amazing, and that is so true across the board. There's a saying like nothing tastes as good as feeling fit feels, because we tend to eat all this garbage. Once you start realizing you can fuel your body the way it's supposed to, you're like, this is crazy. Like all of a sudden now, like my dry, flaky skin, my skin's healthier, I'm sleeping better. Like the core processes that your nervous system has to control each and every day. Like these things need good fuel. You wouldn't have, say you had the most expensive car in the world. Who knows what that is? Maybe some crazy Bugatti. It wouldn't do a whole lot of good for me or you on the farm, as you look at this. But
my 08 Dodge, but
right, I know we need something that's going to put in the work. But there again, your Dodge, you wouldn't go out there and put some sugar in the gas tank and expect it to work well. So many times I tell people, like, listen, you take better care of your car than you do your body. Do you know how many cars you'll have over your lifetime? Regardless of your income, you're probably still not sitting on your first vehicle. 1992 Ford Ranger. What was your first vehicle?
It was a Honda Accord, 89 Honda Accord LXI.
I love it. Shout out to first vehicles everywhere out there. But we don't still have them. Like mine is probably still checking irrigation systems in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska.
Mine got hail damage and was dimpled beyond recognition, and so we got rid of it.
R.I.P. Yeah. Rest in peace to the first vehicles. But that's I think it's such a huge first step, and I think that's where we really want to hammer on people. If you there's not lack of wisdom and knowledge out there, right? And having you, Jennifer, and having Mark, and seeing here's the other thing. Like I challenge everybody to go stock Sutton Ridge Farms, not in a creepy way, okay? Not in a creepy way. I don't want anybody clipping this and saying Dr. Jeff's promoting stalking people. That's how the internet works these days.
Of course.
Whatever. But I'm saying go look at their website. Go look at all the things that they do. Go attend an event. Talk to Mark. Talk to Jennifer. And then guess what? Look at their kids. Because no matter how, so let's just say, Jennifer, let's say you and Mark are the most polished, and you guys are very, very good speakers, very well put together. It looks like you're doing well. I challenge people always, like, look at the health of their children. Because the people that they love it probably arguably besides you and Mark as a married couple, but the next step of people on this earth are going to be your kids. So probably you're going to give them some of the best nuggets and advice and do everything you can to help their life. So if their kids are sick, if their kids are rocking and crushing overweight, if their kids are sitting there with lifestyle-based diseases, I'm not listening to Jennifer. Look at their kids, and I've seen the product of your knowledge. So to me, I always tell people the litmus test, even when a new patient comes in or those things. I go, stalk me online, like do whatever you want. I always say I don't care about like this. I'm not gonna go I'm going down the tangents now. But like Bill Gates, I would always say, give me his health stats at any age of his life. I would kick his tail up and down Scott County. Like I just don't believe the guy. Like you can have all the money in the world, show me the results. So I think that's one thing, Jennifer, I'm gonna give you and Mark a plug. And everybody listening is go check them out, because you will find true and true. If what she says is true, then they should have a certain set of results, and you can see that.
Well, thank you. You're very kind. I want to just roll back just to something you reminded me of, but having a good resource is very, very important. Unfortunately, we live in an age now with the internet with so much fake information. And just a little aside, about a year ago, I don't use Google. I use different search engines, so I'm not a Googler. But I did use it about a year ago, and I looked up benefits of grass-fed organic beef, because that's what we raise. So I thought, I'm just going to see what happens. And the first page that came up for me back then was how red meat is bad for you. And so I want to make sure I get out there to people. You can find a con and a pro and a con. You can find an argument for anything on the internet.
No, you can't. I'm just kidding. I was just trying to argue.
Right. Trying to think of a comeback for that.
No.
Can't think of one. But I want to promote an organization called the Weston Price Foundation. And their website they're just an advocacy group for real food. That's it. Weston Price was a dentist back in the early 1900s, I believe. And he wanted to know why, so he's looking at the teeth, and, your teeth and your oral health is a reflection of your body. I've got a couple things I want to say about that. But anyway, so he went and visited different tribal communities around the world to see why their teeth were so beautiful. And no dir, it was their diet.
Yeah, right.
And so, so it's a place you can find, they've got little food finders. So even if you're traveling, if you're, camping across America or something, you can plug in to their food finder if you want to find unprocessed milk somewhere, butter, whatever you need, and you can find a farm in your area, provided the farm is listing with them, of course.
Awesome.
But so your resource of where you're getting your information is very, very important. And I just kind of peel it back to being real, just the basics, real food, And because when people say red meat is bad for you, my feathers bristle, because I look at our cattle. We raise Scottish Highland cattle. It's a heritage breed. And they thrive on pasture. They do the best when they're roaming around, and we rotationally graze and all that stuff. It's just kind of basic stuff to me, I guess. And that's where they want to be, and that's where they do best. And they're longer on the hoof. They're a slow grower. They're a heritage breed. They're grass-fed. We're a very closed loop. So everything that is calved on our farm, we raise it until it's butchered.
Yeah.
So we have full control over everything that they eat.
So awesome.
And check out other farmers, ask, what they're feeding, how they're, feeding and caring for their animals. I guess, I'll just put this out here too. The land was certified organic years ago. We went through that whole process. We had a problem with the certifier that kept losing our records, and it was just a mess. And so we decided we're not going to change the way, we raise animals, but we are not certified, but we raise everything organically. And we don't need, when you're in the store and you're looking at all these food choices, there's a place for labels, although you do need to be careful with the labels too. But people come to the farm. We only sell direct. We don't ship. We don't sell through any grocery stores or restaurants or anything. So you come out, and I just love that because I get to know our customers, and many have faithfully been with us for so many years, and I know their families, and it's just, like your business here too. You get to know your people. And anyway, it's just wonderful because it's all about the people.
100%. Right? And you got to go check out Sutton Ridge Farm. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place. Like you step into that world and you're like, man, this is what the world needs. And that's my take on it. But I'm pretty vocal on those things to where it's like, oh my gosh, like let's go. And
we still have to have you out for some roping.
Yeah, so
roping,
that's
right?
That's I still got it. I do. I got scars and stories, so we can make some new ones. That's what I always tell people. Like I still got that. But speaking of which, and resources, so I want people. I always say like towards the end of these episodes, like here's your assignment, right? Here's your doctor's orders. That's kind of the shtick with this. But truly, find a farmer if you're not local. And I'm going to challenge everybody, if you are local, find Mark and Jennifer. Like go make them your farmer friends because they are so connected in this. And go check out the farm, like Sutton Ridge Farms, right?
Yep.
And you go out there and like the shed.
Yeah, we've got a new.
This is something I'm
going.
pumped about, and like everybody needs to know about this. So you guys took the time, energy. You literally took faith and you brought it into a reality because it was an idea.
Yep, it was an idea.
And now there's this beautiful building.
Now there's a building.
And now there's coming up wellness workshops. The store is in there. I toured it. It is beautiful.
And the other thing. So, exercise is important.
No.
It is. And so we've found a fun way to do it. So we've been having these country line dance events.
Come on. Yes. More people in country line dance. This is good. I love this.
And two-step. Anyway, so we've been doing some fun things. And those are community things because it's about the people.
Yeah.
remember,
Put your phone away.
COVID wanted to isolate everyone, and we're like, no, we need to be together. And then I mentioned too, we're a chapter leader for Weston Price in the Jordan area. So we're bringing groups of people together, and that's the focus is food. And we learn from each other, and we talk about what helped you or what you do, and we have a potluck, and everyone talks a little bit about their food that they brought, and it's just community and fun and people, and that is part of your health as well, and wellness.
I wish it seemed like you enjoyed this, Jennifer. Like, I wish this was a passion of yours. Like,
I know. It's hard for me.
You do a really good job of bringing up the energy. No, you can clearly see that for you guys that are listening and those things. It's evident. So Jennifer, where's the best place to first connect with you guys at Sutton Ridge Farms? Where would you want people to go?
So the website, just go there and you can, we've got some, education stuff. We've got a number of videos. A business partner of mine is a registered dietitian nutritionist in functional nutrition. Anyway, she's got so many letters I can't keep track anymore. But anyway, so we've done a series of different videos, so you can find those on YouTube as well. But if you go to suttonridgefarm.com, and you can find those videos. We talk about sunshine. We talk about vitamin D. We talk about sunscreen. We talk about collagen. We talk about everything about your health. And then there's product there, so you can shop. You can see what we have in the store. So the inventory is always changing. So I just advise people to go and check that first before you come. I mean, you don't have to order online. I've got probably 50% of our customers are walk-ins. So I've got the store open every other Saturday and then every Tuesday afternoon. So.
That's so awesome. Well, you guys know what to do. Go check that out. Get it done. Remember, when you learn something and you don't take action on it, did you really learn anything at all? That's what I want to ask people. Like, if it didn't resonate enough to take action, then you're not going to be anywhere better off in the future.
Yeah. So my one challenge would be to just decide to change one thing in your diet. Say it's fruit. It's summer now in Minnesota, and the farmers markets are plentiful, but make sure you're asking that farmer how they raise that food as well. Just because it's at a farmer's market doesn't always mean it hasn't had pesticides or, whatever applied to it. So just ask and just, start with one thing. Start with your fruit, then maybe you get that down pat, then you do your vegetable. if you're going to eat just a little bit of meat, or, that's your higher ticket item, make sure it's good meat. Make sure you're getting the best thing, and then move to milk, your dairy. It's just one baby step at a time. Yeah. And then you'll be there, and it's not so overwhelming, because you could look at your pantry or your shelves and just be like, well, what am I going to do with all this stuff? All these crackers, or I don't know,
Yeah.
Use it up, or, whatever, however you want
to. Feed it to the dog.
Feed it.
I always laugh when people are like,
Dr. Ray said that.
Yeah, it's the classic ones where like they spilt, like, I don't know, I haven't had Doritos in my house for decades probably, but it's like the Doritos spill and the dog eats it, and they're like, no, the dog's gonna be sick, hurry up, Johnny, you need to eat those. Like, what are we doing? like come
funny.
on, like,
That's
wake up.
funny.
Yeah,
so just baby steps.
I love it, Jennifer. Thank you so much for being on this. We'll definitely have Jennifer back on, but in the meantime, you guys keep rocking and rolling, and we'll talk to you next time.